Ollie, no. What's up, book friends? I thought that I would do a part 2 on my horror books that are actually scary. I don't know if you've watched some of my videos from the past year, my little tangent, my little quest to find books, horror books that are actually scary, because so many times I read a horror book and it just doesn't scare me. I mean, it might be grotesque or intense or have some like traumatic events that could be thought of as scary, or some people might think it's scary, but to me, that's not scary. Usually what I think is scary is
demonic possession,
really unsettling, horrific ghost stories, things in that vein. Those are usually what I tend to lean toward when I think of something, a book that's gonna scare me. So I have a list of books that I've read in the past year and a half that I thought were actually scary. I think I have 7, so it's not quite 10. I know 10 is a good round number. It's big enough to be appealing, and not too short. But hey, you know what? This is what it is. We've got 7. Let's just get into it and talk about these books that I thought a little spine-chilling, a little intense, and definitely scared me. I lied, there's 6. The first one that I want to talk about is Seed by Anya Allborn. This book is about a man who is a father and a husband, and he has some trauma from childhood. Sorry, the puppy is sniffing around by the camera stand. He has some childhood trauma. At a point in his life, his kids start to experience some disturbing events, and he becomes concerned that some of the experiences that he had as a child are coming back to haunt him. It's very atmospheric. It's very ominous. It has a lot of kind of horrific events and scary events that you might relate to as things that you were scared of as a child. I think those are ultimately some of the key things that I find actually scare me, lo and behold. But this book was very intense, and you begin to wonder what is real and what is not. Are these psychological traumatic things coming back up, or is he actually like being hunted and
Hey, stop. No.
and bothered by a demon or some kind of other dark entity? It's one of those books where it's very much seems to be left up into interpretation. I will just say that I think that they wrap things up nicely at the end. Nicely meaning they tied the ends up. I wouldn't say it was a nice ending. It's pretty horrific, it's pretty intense, and pretty brutal. I really enjoyed this one, and I would really actually love to read some more books by this author. I thought that they did a great job at instilling that eerie feeling and keeping me feeling scared and anticipating what was coming next. The next one I have is actually one that really quite surprised me, and that is Incidents Around the House by Josh Malerman. I went into this thinking that it was just going to be a fun read, and it actually scared the crap out of me. I thought it was so well done and so freaking ominous and so gripping. This is told from the perspective of, I believe, an 8-year-old girl, and it is based on her experience with her other mommy, which at the start you get the impression that this is a imaginary friend or some other imaginary parental figure, maybe because this child is having some issues in her life. But things quickly take a turn for the worse. I think that it did that same thing where it lends back to childhood fears, and that what's lurking in your closet and what's under your bed, that kind of thing. I do think that this was very original, very well done, and I do think that the voice of the child was a little bit off sometimes. I think that would be my only complaint about this story. I really thought that it was intense.
Ollie, no.
He's eating the carpet. And really pretty vile, actually. If you are interested in that kind of thing, I highly recommend that you pick it up. The next one is Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Bazterrica, and I know that this book was all the rage on BookTube a year or two ago, and I'm sure that many of you are very familiar with this book. It is a kind of dystopian tale about our society in the future, where I think it was like a disease or some kind of something that goes around where humans start to become unable to eat meat from animals. And so they turn to cannibalism. I think this one is one of those ones where I didn't think that it was going to scare me because it is kind of body horror, mutilation kind of tale. And I really didn't think that that was going to do it for me, but it really did. I think because it's so relevant, it's so plausible that it just had the effect of being really, really unsettling. And it is described in such detail and in such clarity. It really plays on human emotion, and it was very unexpected to me that this book worked so well in the horror genre. But I highly recommend that you pick it up and read it. Even if it doesn't scare you, it will maybe make you think. And that's not a bad thing.
Ollie!
The next one I have is Rosemary's Baby. And this is a classic horror that I had not read up until a year or two ago. And I went into it, again, with not the highest of expectations. But this one was so good and so atmospheric. I loved it. The feelings that you get as you're perusing around this apartment building, or whatever you want to call it, this building, and the characters that you meet. It's really just so eerie and so well done. You can kind of feel the steady decline of the main character. And again, you question her sanity. You question whether she's imagining these things or if it's really happening. The ending pulled off such a punch, and it was such a good read. This is about Rosemary, and she gets married. Her husband's an actor, so they move into this fancy old school building, and they win this lottery to get in. And then they meet the neighbors, and they're all a little odd, a little off. And Rosemary's kind of like, oh, it's just part of the charm. But then she gets pregnant, and things just, like I said, steadily go downhill from there. Yeah, it was so good, so gripping, such a great read. Highly recommend it. The next one I have is The Demoniac. I read this off of Kindle Unlimited, and I did think that this was going to be one that was roll your eyes.
Ollie!
I thought I was going to roll my eyes at this one. I really enjoyed it. So this is about a woman who her estranged father ends up passing away, and she takes her family to her childhood home in order to put it up for sale and be done with that part of her life. And little do they know, when they get to the house, it's haunted and all kinds of shit goes down. I will say the ending of this did not really work for me. I thought that part was very much kind of roll your eyes. Didn't really love it. But the meat of the story is a haunted house story, and there are some scenes in there that really put me aside of myself and just made me put the book down and walk away for a little bit, because they were just so intense and so unexpected, and so they felt so real, and the kind of thing where you have experienced it yourself. Even chilling feeling of you're in the shower and you feel like somebody is out there, that kind of thing. These things start happening. The parents are like, oh, we're just going to be here for a couple days. We're just going to push through. We're just going to stick together. And it's just this malignant entity experience. It's just horrific. And you really feel for the characters in the moment. I thought it was really scary. Didn't love the ending, but I think the meat of the story pulled it through. And the last one that I have is another one that I read on Kindle Unlimited, and that is The Exorcist House by Nick Roberts. This one is so good. It is almost satirical in its horror.
Come here.
This is about a family that they buy this house in which the former owner was an exorcist. He wasn't actually with the church. He just performed these exorcisms on his own, and he passes away. So they buy this house and they remodel it while they're there. Meanwhile, I will just say that this family, these individuals, they have their own ghosts in their closets, and the author really uses those ghosts in their closets to kind of play the characters off of each other, which I thought was a really great touch. It just adds to that element of who's being reliable here and who's not. There were at least 2 scenes in this book that freaking creeped the hell out of me and worked so well. The setting was so ominous, so atmospheric, and just so menacing. And I loved that. It totally worked for me. It was so much fun. The satirical parts worked as well. I thought that they played really well with the characters and the rest of the horror elements. He had little nods to some classic horror like The Exorcist in there. It was a really, really fun read. I highly recommend it, and especially if you have Kindle Unlimited, like you can read it for free. And not only that, but it is a part of a series. I believe there is at least 3 in the series, maybe 4. I'm not sure. I will have to look that up and let you know. Highly recommend it. It was a great read, and I know Nick Roberts has several other horror books. I will definitely be checking out more by him. Oh, I also wanted to add, see, I did have 7, and that is The Descent by Jeff Long. This was recommended to me by a subscriber. I read and loved it. This is about a kind of a dystopian future of our world in which they find out that there is a whole nother world basically living beneath the surface of the earth. They're catacomb type spaces that run basically the whole entire circumference of the earth. And there are beings that live down there that are human-like, but also kind of devilish and monstrous. And so, of course, humans being humans, they want to go and explore. They run into these creatures and let's just say that problems ensue. But not only that, it's very dark and kind of eerie and very claustrophobic. It was such an interesting tale. I really loved it. It was very original. Thought it was so good. I think there is a sequel to it. I haven't read it, but I very well may just check it out. That should wrap it up. I hope that you enjoyed the video. I would love to know if there are any great horror books that you have read lately that I should pick up and try and do a part 3 of these horror books that actually scare me at some time in the future. But I just have such a great time reading these books and hearing your recommendations, because there are some that I probably never would have found without your help. Drop me a comment down below and give me some names of some authors or some books that I really just must try. Until then, I will see you soon. Bye, guys.